Mzansi's favorite youth choir has reimagined Queen's iconic masterpiece, Bohemian Rhapsody, this time in their native language and with their unmistakable sound. Now, in a first for the song's nearly 50-year history, Queen has officially approved this translation, achieving a groundbreaking moment not just for the Ndlovu Youth Choir, but for African music on the global stage. Now known for inspiring audiences around the world and uplifting communities through the power of music, the choir brings new emotional depth and cultural meaning to the legendary track. Now, more than just a tribute, this rendition marks a historic musical milestone. The choir is bringing their heritage tour to life this September with a special focus on townships across South Africa during Heritage Month. I'm now joined by the choir's conductor and musical director, Ralf Schmitt. Welcome to Newzroom Afrika. Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much for having me, and good morning to the viewers.
Now, congratulations on this massive milestone. We'll jump into that. But just for the uninitiated, Ralf, I think it's very important that you share the story of the Ndlovu Youth Choir. Who are they? How did you put this choir together? Tell me about the journey that you've walked so far.
The Ndlovu Youth Choir is an incredible bunch of young people from a community in Limpopo around Dennilton. We are based in a little township there called Elandsturn. And in fact, most of our choristers can walk to where we rehearse. So what we're trying to represent is the potential of young South Africans in rural communities. We started as an after-schools project as part of the Ndlovu Care Group, that hence our name Ndlovu, for orphans and vulnerable children. And we carried on as a music program for 9 years. And then we turned professional to try and create an income for some of the choristers. And we're very proud that many of them are actually earning a decent living through performing and living their dream, traveling the world, recording and living as artists.
You've done such incredible work. Not only did you turn professional, but you've gone on and created an international brand and put South Africa on the map. Could you talk to us about some of the highlights, especially after the America's Got Talent competition and the kids having done so well? They should have won, if you ask me.
You're very kind. Thank you. But no, it was a wonderful highlight to be in the final of America's Got Talent. We were the first choir in the history of the competition to get to the final. But, you know, the big thing with reality television is you have to transform that opportunity you get into a sustainable, long-term product almost, if you want to call it that. So we've worked very hard on putting together a full 2.5-hour show. We've had multiple sold-out tours in Cape Town and Johannesburg and Durban. Last year, we sold out the Carnegie Hall in New York City. We performed at the North Sea Jazz Festival at the Berlin Philharmonie. So it really has been an incredible journey, you know, taking the show around the world and in the biggest theaters in South Africa. And then this year we thought, but why don't we go to smaller towns? Why don't we go to Soweto? Why don't we go to, not that Soweto is a smaller town, but we haven't performed there. Yeah. Why don't we go to Welkom? Why don't we go to Kimberley? Why don't we go to all these smaller places and take the show there? So we developed this a tour, which is now called the FNB Heritage Tour. And FNB's kindly come on to support it. And we're going to have a big grand finale on Heritage Day at the Sunbet Arena. Where we're going to hopefully fill the place and have everyone dressed in their traditional attire and just celebrate our individual cultures and use it as an opportunity to celebrate our diversity, but also to learn from one another.
I think this is fantastic. Now, what was the thinking behind taking the tour to more townships and smaller areas?
I think it's because very few big productions do that. A lot of people warned us before the tour. They said, look, there's a good reason people don't go to the smaller towns. It's very difficult, it's very costly, and so on and so forth. But I think if no one does it, no one's going to do it. And it is a big production for us to move around. But we are very excited about taking the same show that we did in Carnegie Hall to Potchefstroom, for example. And I don't think you can call yourself a national brand if you only perform in Johannesburg and Cape Town and occasionally in Durban, because South Africa is so much broader and wider, and communities that are not in the major centers deserve to see South African art and presented in the best possible way, the same way that we do when we go to the North Sea Jazz Festival, we travel internationally.
Now, this rendition of Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody, how did this come about?
Yeah, it was a long process. It's the most complex piece we've ever done. You know, Freddie Mercury was born in Zanzibar. And we'd fiddled around with the opening of just, everyone that knows the choir knows we like taking songs, global hits, and infusing it with African genres and rhythms and harmonies. And we played around with the opening section, and I had no intention of doing the full piece. And then we were on a show in the Serengeti in Tanzania, and I was thinking of Freddie Mercury, and I was wondering what would his musical journey have been like had he never left Africa? What would that song have sounded like had it been written in Africa? And that took us on this beautiful creative journey to totally reimagine the piece, but do it in a way that is very respectful to the original. It was very important to us that it's a homage to this incredible piece and one of the world's great songwriters.
Now, getting the blessing of the surviving members is quite a big deal. How long did that take?
It's a big deal, and it took long, but we were very pleased in the end when it came through. When you do things like these, you always work through the music publishers. So with this production, we went straight through Sony Music Publishing in London, which manages the rights of the song, and they had to get in touch with the members of the band. It took a few weeks, a few nervous moments, but we got it over the line, and we're very, very honored to we actually didn't even realize it's the first translation. When you go and ask for publishing permission, you go and look for previous examples to support your case when you present it to the publisher. So look, I've done this translation, there's a Spanish version, there's an Italian version, and it's pretty straightforward. And we quickly realized that this has never been done. We couldn't find any commercially released version, and it became apparent that this is not just any translation, it's a historic moment in the history of music.
Now, you are about to embark on your heritage tour. In fact, you've started, if I'm not mistaken. Tell us a little bit more about that, what people can expect, and what you hope people will take away from this.
Well, we're going to be starting next Friday in Polokwane, and then we head off to the great city of Groblersdal, and then a huge performance in the Botanical Gardens at Mbombela next Sunday. And it's just going to be a celebration of South Africa. People are going to hear the hits that the choir is known for, but also unique interpretations of great South African classics. Vulindlela, Nkalagata, Kaptein Spandi Sele even. We'll hear a little bit of that. So it's going to be a show that I hope celebrates the beautiful and diverse tapestry of South African culture and heritage, and leaves people feeling optimistic about the future of this country, and particularly young people.
Wow, Ralf, thank you so much for your time, and thank
you
for this choir. You've done incredible work.
Thank you, Message. I appreciate it. Thank you.